Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We have some exciting news to talk about from Bambu Lab. Now, as you know, Bambu Lab has been well known for their leaks, right? We had a leaked X2D, we had a leaked P2S. At this point, we all know that Bambu Lab doesn't leak as much as probably they hype, right? These are images that they themselves put on the Bambu Lab wiki, and users then find them and then start to speculate and bring up ideas and discuss. And this creates a resurgence all of a sudden of interest in Bambu Lab and their printers, and really just builds hype, right? Makes people interested in what is next for this lineup. Because of that, I don't expect this to really be a leak. This was all probably marketing planned by Bambu Lab. But regardless, we had received a bunch of pictures of what looked like a dual nozzle system in a small enclosed printer. Now, at this point in time, we did get an official confirmation from Bambu Lab themselves. On the website, we can see what looks to be an extruder with a dual nozzle system that is much more compact than the X2D's current offering. And we're going to dive in a little bit into what we think this printer is going to have, because all we know so far is that it is indeed a dual nozzle system. We don't have a name, we don't have a size or bed size, we don't have anything else at this time. We especially don't have a price. But we're going to speculate a little bit based on what the internet has come up with, what users and forums have said, and what people are saying about this possible new release as far as where it falls in the lineup that Bambu Lab currently has. Now let's dive into what we have for sure, right? We know it's a dual nozzle system in a small type tool head that seems to be much more compact than the X2D, like I mentioned. So we are anticipating, based on what we're seeing here, a X1 carbon replacement. X1 carbon reached end of life and is no longer being produced. So if you wanted to buy a brand new X1 carbon at this time, you are out of luck. It is no longer one of their offerings. You can buy one maybe if a retailer still has one, but Bambu Lab themselves have pulled it from the website. So that to me means we need to now fill this space, right? But to get a really good idea of where this new printer would fall in line, we need to take a step back and look at all the printers that Bambu Lab currently produces and what their current lineup is. That will give us a good idea as far as where this printer is going to fall in line with their other offerings on the market. Because to be fair, Bambu Lab tends to have really well-defined spots in the lineup in the market for their products. We know of other companies, let's say, Creality, Anycubic to some degree. These companies sometimes will come out with a printer. Let's use the Ender 3 as an option. And then 6 months later, make them up with an Ender 3 version 2, and then an Ender 3 version 3, and then an Ender 3 Pro, and an Ender 3 Max. And they keep adding these like new upgrades, new and improved versions 6 months after the previous, 8 months after the previous, kind of just like killing off their own line with the new replacement back to back to back, right? Bambu Lab doesn't typically do that. They tend to create a very well-defined spot for their printers. So if we look at the lineup, which is what we're going to do next, you'll have a very good representation of where exactly in this lineup this new printer is going to fall. And that should give us some really solid insight as far as pricing and what capabilities we can expect from this printer. So that said, let's jump right into the lineup. And here we have what you can see is a graphic that shows all the printers that Bambu Lab currently produces. My thoughts on this, when we get to the X1 Carbon's former location on this lineup, we're gonna have a really good idea of what this new machine should be capable of. So let's dive right in, right? You have the A1, A1 Mini, right at the beginning. These are all beginner-friendly machines, low price points in comparison. Then you move on to P1S and P2S, where the P1S is their original P-series enclosed printer, following the P1P, right? Enclosed P1S. Then the P2S was an evolution of that machine. Then we move on to the X1 Carbon, and you can see this is where it used to reside, right? Right here between this roughly $500, $700 P2S now currently, and the H2S as the lowest professional offering in their lineup. Now, this space, if you're looking at the space, the gap between these two printers, there's a few things we can already kind of gather, right? This has to be a machine that bridges between mid-tier, the hobbyist who is really interested in 3D printing, but isn't maybe specifically a maker producing this for profit, someone who is highly interested, but not necessarily maybe professional, if you want to consider it that. That's probably where this printer is going to be targeting, right? Prosumers, if you will. And I think what distinguishes these two categories of people is maker space. So how much room you have to really put into your hobby. Based on that, I anticipate this machine is really targeting people who are wanting to get more out of the hobby, but just can't dedicate that large space that would be required for something like an H2S or an H2D. And I think we're really going to see a 256 by 256, 256 build area, just like we had with the X1 Carbon, that is outgoing, because we're targeting users that have a small, limited amount of space, but are still craving some of those professional benefits that the H series offers. So I really think that's going to distinguish this from the P2S, because that was also some speculation that before, when the X1 Carbon still existed and the P2S came out, a lot of people were saying that the P2S is basically a cheaper X1 Carbon. It's a cheaper X1 Carbon. That was being said all over the internet. And I get that. I understand where they're coming from. The P2S is a very capable machine. It does a lot of things right. The X1 Carbon was the only machine that had some of the things that the P2S now brought to the table. So I can see why people are saying that the P2S kind of, killed off the X1 Carbon. But I see what Bambu Lab was planning. They're putting now a machine into that X1 Carbon space that is much more capable by adding that dual nozzle system. So in that regard, the X2 Carbon, X2D really, because it has a dual nozzle system, is now filling in that void between mid-tier and professional in a smaller package, in my opinion. I think this will be definitely a 256 by 256 bed size, and I don't anticipate it being larger than that. Because of that, it's going to be a smaller machine like the X1 Carbon was compared to the H series, and for a lot of makers, that is a big benefit, being able to have these professional features in a smaller machine. So with that said, we need to talk about price, right? We have a more professional, competent machine filling in the X1 Carbon shoes. And what price can we really put that at? Well, I anticipate this is going to fall into about the $1,000 range. I don't expect it to be very different from where the X1 Carbon previously was priced. So $1,000 is what I'm kind of pricing at. I would assume maybe 900, 9 something for the base machine, no AMS. And then you add the AMS and it bumps up to 1,100, 1,200, give or take. That would be my estimate. It would fall right in line with the P2S topping out at $799 with the combo, and the H2S starting at about $1,200. We're gonna have to wait till April 14th to really get an understanding of what exactly the X2D will be. But for right now, I think we can really bank on, of course, the dual nozzle system, because they themselves told us that, and the 256 build area by 256. I don't expect them to deviate from that to target that hobbyist space a little bit more effectively compared to the H2D. Now, if this nozzle system is as good as the one on the H2D, I will be very impressed. But to be fair, I already have an H2D. I don't think this machine is for me. This is probably not a machine that I would pick up. I don't think I'm the target audience, if you will. But let me know your thoughts. Is this something you were craving? Were you looking for a dual nozzle system in a smaller package that would really fit into this role, this space in their lineup? I'm curious to see if there's a lot more people out there that maybe wanted this exactly and just didn't exist until now. I get a feeling a lot of people were really hoping for a nozzle tool head changer system, kind of like the H2C Vortec, but in a smaller package. And don't get me wrong, that would be extremely cool. I just don't think it would be feasible for Bambu Lab to do that, but that would be an amazing product. So who knows? Maybe soon we'll have an X2C on the market, and that would be exactly that. But there's no speculation just yet. There's no, releases, leaked items. Again, leaked. Bambu Lab is as watertight as a cup made out of Swiss cheese at this point. So leaks, if you will, come with Bambu Lab, it seems pretty frequently. But no, there's no leaks on an X2C yet. But let me know, would that be maybe the one you really want to wait for if that became available in the future? Thank you for checking out the content. I hope this was useful to you. And we're going to have more content coming in the next few weeks. We had a small hiatus to get our shop in line, our shop in order, and you can see here that the shop itself is looking really, really nice, really clean. We're gonna have some videos on how the shop was put together, what items are in there, how we created the workflow to work in this space. All of that is coming up on the channel very soon, but stay tuned, subscribe, like, all the algorithm, YouTube God things that are required. It would be appreciated, and just keep checking us out whenever we put out new videos. Again, thank you for tuning into our channel, and keep on printing. I'll see you on the next one.